I think we're live. Good to see you guys over here on YouTube. Good to see you guys over here on Twitch. We're going to go ahead and get the stream set up and the chat box set up, and then we're going to get right down to business. As always, your questions are more than welcome. That's actually the main reason why I do these things. And I would love nothing more than to have the opportunity to chat with you about whatever your questions may be. And so let's go ahead and turn that a taste. And then let's turn that volume off. Let's pop out the chat. Twitch will be with you all in just 1 second. All right, here we go. All right, so you can go ahead, if you have questions already, you can go ahead and start writing the comments now. I welcome questions, especially if you're new around here. We kind of warm up the crowd just a little bit, get everyone kind of settled in. But you're welcome to ask questions at any time. And most importantly, your questions do not need to be related to the topic that I'm discussing. You can ask questions pretty much about anything that's on your mind in terms of business and life strategy. It's kind of what I focus on. If you're not familiar with me, my name's Brian. I own a media company that's dedicated to helping military veterans and first responders start, build, and grow either freelance careers or businesses, right? And the way we do that, there's a number of ways that we do it, but the media company is dedicated to that. So I take a lot of the knowledge that I've learned as a battlefield leader, as a combatant myself, and a number of the lessons that I picked up working in the Fortune 500 space as basically a director of operations for a part of a Forbes list, actually, billionaires portfolio. So I cut my, I got experience in a lot of different ways. So we're going to talk about, tonight's going to be more about mentality, not necessarily about tactical business practices, because I have found that mentality is always at the forefront of any good that we're doing or any challenges that we're facing. So I like to spend a lot of time talking about mentality, but I don't like necessarily, what's up, Twitch? I don't like necessarily just talking all philosophy and no practicality. So we'll definitely get into, I'll share, usually what my format is, I'll share something philosophical, like a mindset or a mentality issue, and then we'll talk practically, how do we combat it? How do we get better? How do we overcome the challenge that we're facing, right? Or if you're doing well, how do we do more of that? One of the things I've done for the last several years, and we just finished well, not just, we finished the live coaching portion of it, is I've had a private coaching program, probably, I think that goes back to 2015. Started working with a small group of people on YouTube, and then we expanded it to coach people. I just found that YouTube was a little bit too limiting for me to focus on, because so many people had their head wrapped around, they wanted their YouTube to be their career. And my idea was, and it's probably not the best of ideas, you can use YouTube absolutely as a means and an opportunity to get attention, but I would never base the success of my business or base my business entirely around a singular platform that inevitably is going to be competed with and potentially toppled. So I started working on more helping the individual, the freelancer, the entrepreneur develop. Right. So one of the things we do in there is we talk a lot of philosophy. We talk a lot of philosophy and business strategy and mindset, but then we get into the practicality. In fact, I just uploaded a testimonial that one of my customers sent me. Real awesome lady who owns I think a brow. I want to make sure I say this right. A brow and eyelashes salon. Right. So I gave her some very practical advice in the private part of our coaching program on, she had these very big ideas, which I was happy she had. It showed that she had put a lot of thought into what she wants to do. She had a lot of big ideas about how she wanted to own her salon. So I gave her, as she was, hey buddy.
What did you think?
They can't see you. Got to move over. There he is.
That's Hulk.
You're the Hulk? They can't see the Hulk. You got to bring the Hulk over this way. You heard me up here talking? Yep, there he is. Now they can see the Hulk. Can I have a big hug? Are you ready to go to bed, or are you just coming to hang because you heard me talking to the people? And you thought maybe you could get on camera?
Nana.
She's not here, baby.
No.
She'll be home soon, though.
Mommy?
Yeah, she's with Nana.
Okay.
So big hug?
Be home.
They'll be home soon. There's my guy. Oh, thank you, man. Mwah. I love you. You smell good. They can't see you. You got to move over and do it. Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep there. Now they see you. What about these people up here? There's more than just one group of people.
What are you, Dad?
No, there's no one over there. There's just these two cameras.
What the heck?
What that? No, I should have 3 cameras, shouldn't I? So what's the move? You're just going to hang out in the office? You're welcome to do that.
Come on.
Or you want to hang out with your brothers? Which one? You want to watch the movie, or you want to hang out with me?
Mommy.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead. What does that mean?
You had Hulk?
Yeah. Well, so I need to talk to these people. If you want to hang out and talk, we have to do it later, okay?
Okay.
But you're welcome to hang out if you just want to stay here and wave at people and be cute. I'm sure they won't mind that. Okay, you're going to hide behind my chair. That's fine, too. All right. Now then. Let's take some comments real quick. Raz says, and that's going to be the highlight of the show. It usually is. My kids usually are the highlight of everything. Hey, man.
You're the one.
Yeah, no, I don't. Please don't push me over. I'd prefer not to fall out of my chair if that's okay with you.
Sorry.
No, sorry. I'm not trying to chastise you. I'm just asking for your permission not to fall out of my chair.
Be home yet?
No. We just had that conversation 48 seconds ago. They're not here yet.
Okay.
But they will be. They went out. They needed time away from children, so they left you guys with me. And you're the only one that's not asleep. Well, I think Alexander's awake.
Okay. You wait.
Now, remember my question. Do you want to watch the movie with your brothers, or would you like to sit in here and listen with me? Which one do you want? You want to go watch a movie or stay with me?
That one.
That wasn't English. Okay, see you later. Aqua Sakura says, hello, Bryant. Hello, Aqua Sakura. Raz says, loved your podcast with your older son. Listen to it. Oh, yeah. We enjoyed shooting that one. That was cool. Let's see. Anne Rochelle says, I think that I voice for podcast and radio. And so, or you have a voice for radio and it sounds good on audio with specifically jazzy music. I don't know how to initial brand myself to make some money. Hello, by the way. Pain Rain says, hey. So that's a good point. And that brings me to what I was just talking about a minute ago with when I'm coaching people or when I have coached people. Like I said, I've been on a pretty lengthy hiatus to get my health squared away. But we focus on philosophy, and then we focus on tactics and strategy tactics, and then the practical side of actually doing the execution. Blushing Cat says, hello, very cute son you got there. Thank you, Blushing Cat. So the challenge, and this is a challenge that we all face, so please don't take this as me judging you or trying to criticize you. You've got to get out of the mindset of, how do I brand myself to make money, right? Or how do I do a thing that inevitably makes money? Because the truth of the matter is the formula for making money is way more simple than people want to believe it is. A lot of you want to believe that there's secrets and tips and tricks that all of us use to make $1 million show up at our house. And there literally, certainly there are tactics that I might know that you don't know. There are behaviors that I may have and have experience in that you may not have yet. But they're not things that aren't really commonly known to man, right? That's why I don't like selling products or services that are based on some secret. Like, could you imagine if I'm sitting across the table? Like, just picture this for a second. I'm sitting across the table and you want to hire me. You want to be my client. You want to hire me to do, hello, sir. You change your mind?
I'm back.
I see that. Now I got to talk to these great people. So if you want to talk, you got to go downstairs. But if you want to hang quietly, you can do that. Which one do you want?
Oh, Daddy.
Okay, well, have a seat.
I did that one.
Yeah, have a seat.
How are that?
I don't have any. Ask Xavier to get it for you. He'll do it. And then you can come back and hang out. Okay, love you. I see you, man. So the challenge then becomes, how do I do a thing that earns money, right? But the formula for making money is very simple. It's quite simple. It's quality of product or service rendered, plus the quantity that you are giving of said quality, plus your attitude. Period. So making money really comes down to how well you serve other people and do it with some level of enthusiasm. Now, we want it to be more complicated than that because we look at our lives and it's hard to accept that we're not truly adding enough value to other people to garner the amount of money that we want to be making. Right? But if we're really, really honest with ourselves, ask yourself, what do you do for people on a daily basis that you would pay for? Going back to my, hypothetical situation, if you were bringing me into your business, let's say you were hiring us in this case to run your marketing, right? You wanted the marketing arm of our company to come in and provide you with a marketing strategy, a plan, a go-to-market plan for your product or your service, and then what is the actual plan we're going to implement and then execute on to get to build brand awareness for your brand, to build brand fondness, brand insistence is what we always want to get to, where people will not go get their coffee anywhere else but Starbucks or whatever thing they believe in. For us to do that, and then eventually, once we got the brand established, also move into, okay, how do we actually push and sell, and more importantly, get people to want to come in and consume our product or our service. If you were to if you brought me in to consult with you about how we could do that for you, if I showed up, I said, oh, I got this bag of secrets over here that nobody knows. And this little bag of secrets that you can't see is how I get all my customers, yo. It's all about them secrets, right? If I came into your office and said that, if you were smart, you'd throw me out. Because you realize there is no secret. It's how much are you willing to spend on a customer? And do you even know, do you know your numbers? How much does it typically cost for you to acquire a customer? Just on the revenue side. Social media makes that a little bit more challenging because for me, a lot of times acquiring a customer in the past has been time driven more so than just putting money into a marketing system, right? I'd spend hours and hours on calls like these, and eventually I'd get to the end or somewhere in the middle of it and talk about a product or, my book or one of my courses that I have, and I, would sync people up with those things, right? Well, how much time did I have to invest before someone bought? Where the kind of common myth is, well, you got to touch people 7 times or 15 times or whatever it is, or you have to have 4 really good interactions with people before they're willing to buy from you, right? And that statistic's based upon most consultants quit after the first, and then another pretty large percentage quits after the second, third, and most people don't make it to the 4th, right? But if I came into your office and said some nonsense like that, you throw me out. So why do we think it's different when we're trying to approach the internet? Or how do I create a niche for a podcast that makes me money? And what I'm submitting to all of you is that's the wrong question to ask, right? And by the way, everyone that's being honest, myself included, has asked it because we're thinking in terms of our needs and our desires, which is totally fine. But one of the things we have to think about is we want people to give us money. So if I want a person to hand me money, I have to exchange something with them that's of equal or greater value. And in sales, you want it to be of greater value than what you're asking them to pay. Why? Because back before I made my book free, for example, my book used to cost, I think it was $15 on my publisher's website, and then on Amazon, I think it was $25, right? If I wanted someone to pay $25 for that book, there better be at least $50 worth of value in it, right? Or at least 40, maybe 35. Because if someone's going to pay me 25, it's because they believe that the book is worth more. No one goes into a sale and says, this thing that costs $16, I really think it's only worth 14, so I'll buy it. No one ever does that, right? Usually when you buy, like I'll give you a perfect example. I was on Facebook Marketplace once upon a time. I collect video games, right? It's one of my very few hobbies. And so I was on there, and this guy had a box of assorted video games for sale. I noticed one game, but he was selling the whole box. It was like, I want to say it was 30 or 40 games in this box. And he was selling the whole box for $50. Like, just come get this box out of my house. As a matter of fact, this was Craigslist, not Facebook. And I came this close, but I got busy and I felt bad because I was going to email him. He had a game in that box just one game in that box that I've seen sell for $120. And he didn't know what he had. He had no idea because it's this random run of the mill, seemingly common game, and it's not. It's become incredibly hard. It's not rare. They printed 6 billion copies of it, but no one's selling it because it's so valuable because it was the last game ever made in that series of games. And I meant to email him and say, hey, dude, that game is worth 120. Oh, my wife's texting me. We're hanging with, oh, sweet. But so warning YouTube, I may get a call from my wife that interrupts this stream. If I do, I'll come back on. But the point is, I wanted to hit him up, be like, yo, you're selling this box for 50. This one game alone is worth, probably used on the market, is worth at least the price of the whole box. So double the price, right? I would have been willing to go and buy it from him, but he lived too far away for me to care. I already own the game, so I didn't care. It's like, I don't need 2 copies of it right now. I don't really want to spend $50, even though I'd be getting a crazy deal. And none of the other games in the box I cared about. That was the main reason. But I would have been, had I not already owned the game, I would have emailed him immediately, like, I will pay you $60 for this box, even though you're only asking 49 or whatever. I'll pay you $60. I'll be at your house, and 45 minutes is how long it would probably take me to get to where that person lived, right? But he's willing. I would have been willing to spend $60 because I know the box itself is worth at least 120. Meaning, if all things went to hell and I had to sell the box to eat, I could sell the box and make twice what I spent, right? So you have to get in the mindset of not what could you go on. Like, so many of the YouTube people I used to reach back in the day were, how do I make money? And I still reach people every once in a while. I need to monetize my YouTube channel. Why? How many viewers do you have? Oh, 18? Yeah, don't waste your time. Right? So they're like, how do I, everyone, the talk for tonight is going to, this certainly ties into what I want to talk with you all about, is these losing mindsets about money. And it's, how do I make this quick buck so I can pay off a, car insurance bill or whatever the thing is. And it's, why not think bigger than that? Why not say, well, wait a minute, if the formula for making money is literally the quality of the product or service that I give, plus the quantity that I give you, plus the attitude with which I deliver it, then why don't I figure out what I'm specifically skilled at doing that someone would be willing to pay money for, and go find people who want me to give it to them and give them a ton of it with excellent attitude, enthusiasm, and customer service. That, my friends, that's the game. That's the game. Why do people pay $100 to sit in the front row of their favorite artist? Is that chair worth $100? Is the way Jay-Z raps worth $100 to you? His albums only cost like 15 or 10. I haven't bought an album in 4 years probably. Right? So no, the experience of sitting there that close to Jay-Z to you is probably worth $300 because you love Jay-Z so much. So you have to think about it in those terms. He can sell $100 tickets, or his tickets are probably way more than that for the front row. But, he can sell a $100 ticket to this front row person because he's given so much value to them over the years that they're willing to spend it. So you have to think about, where are you particularly skilled to add value to another human person, right? In a way that they're willing to pay you for. Do the math. Like, if you offered to vacuum my house, do you think I would give you as much money if it was like, yo, like if I lost an arm and you had some drops that would make my arm grow back? Like, think about that. That's a ridiculous example, but it's ridiculous to prove the point. Like, I'll pay you $20 maybe to vacuum my house, but if you got the thing that fixes my arm after, I fought, the robot alien invasion, and you can put my arm back on or help me grow a new one in like in 3 days your arm will be back to normal. Yeah, someone would pay literally billions of dollars for that, right? So that, don't think about, oh, I heard that I have a voice for podcast and radio. Sounds good. I don't know how to niche myself to make money. So stop thinking about making money and think about, what do you have to say on a podcast that's so good that you can get a lot of people listening to it, so that you can then, because they love what you're producing, you can then go to a brand and say, hey, I love your brand. I'd like to promote it on my podcast. Would you be willing to pay me X amount of dollars to mention you on the episodes of my podcast? That's how you need to be thinking, how can you give the quality, the quantity, and the attitude? How can you give that level of value to somebody in such high volume that they're willing to either give you their time that someone else will pay for, podcast, or willing to give you money for a product or a service that you produce yourself? Okay, so that's how I would think about that. Let's see. Third May says, quality, customer service, service after the sale, not always easy but simple. Consistency. Yeah. Exceed expectations. Yeah, I mean, the mantra in sales has always been under promise and over deliver. Right? The only place that doesn't have to under promise and over deliver is the gas station. It's the only surefire business where all of your customers hate you, but they have to spend that's the type of business I would love to figure out how to build. It's something where people don't even have to like me. I don't even have to do customer service. You just pull up and get your thing, and you hate it. Like, I hate coming here. This is tedious. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's straight up the business. Like, the value of your product is so not even good. It's so necessary that all your customers hate you and they still spend money. Let's see. Raz says, consistency is something people forget in many areas of life, and that is why things fall apart. Absolutely. It's called atrophy. Aquasakura says, I did not know you published a book. Nice. Yeah. Back in 2014, I think I released it Thanksgiving Day, because I did this big YouTube live stream saying, hey, the book's out, go get it. And everyone went and bought it. It was cool. And then eventually I made it free. I made it what's called in sales a loss leader, where you could get the book for free, but you join my mailing list. And then the mailing list allowed me to give you more value and hip you to other things that I sold, like my coaching program and stuff like that. If you're wondering, like, what does a physical version of that look like? When you go up to when you go into a store, like if you're walking into the store and like, hey, balloons are 9 billion% off. Like, we're going to basically give these balloons away to get you to come in here and buy more stuff. Let's see. Third May says, I know a gas station that still washes windows, full service station. And I bet everyone still hates going there. Are you in New Jersey? I think in New Jersey it's required to have full service. Isn't it like you're not allowed to pump your own gas or something crazy like that? So that's what I'd be thinking about, Anne. Which is a good segue. And like I said, I'm not going to spend on these live streams, at least for the foreseeable future, until I get on a more regular schedule, that Sunday and Thursday schedule that I'll be doing in the future. I'm not going to talk really long. I'm going to make my point, shut up, and let you guys ask questions. So start getting your questions ready. But really, the thing I wanted to talk with you all about tonight it is actually taken directly from a podcast that I launched recently. In fact, was it today's podcast? Yeah, it was. It was the podcast that launched today is what I want to talk with you about. And the title of the podcast was, Are You Guilty of This Losing Mentality About Money? Right? And so what is this losing mentality that everybody has about money? And it's simply this idea that I hear people toss around, that money can't buy you happiness, right? Which is not all. I'm not saying that statement is necessarily false, right? Like, having money doesn't automatically necessarily put you in a sustained state of happiness, right? Happiness is circumstantial. Happiness is actually something you have way more control over than you realize, right? It's all about your perception of your reality. Certainly, if I handed you $1 million right now and someone could measure your happiness, certainly it would go up. But give it 30 days, it wouldn't feel that amazing anymore because of what's called the contrast bias. Our brains are wired constantly to make us want to do better than we're doing yesterday, right? That's how we've survived for so long on this planet. And so I'm not saying that it's false that having money in the bank just, means, like obviously that doesn't just make you happy. But when I hear people use the terminology of, oh, well, money can't buy happiness, they're usually saying it in tandem with another idea. And that idea usually centers around something that they have failed to do in the pursuit of money, right? Like when they're trying really hard to make more money and it doesn't work, eventually you land it because our brain doesn't like to concede that we're the problem. You just concede, well, money doesn't buy happiness anyway, so I'm not going to chase it. And it's like, okay, money doesn't buy happiness. But if you were clinically depressed, money would buy therapy. Couldn't that certainly contribute to your happiness quotient, if I can use the word quotient? You know what I mean? Like, money can't buy whatever this esoteric idea of happiness is, but it can certainly buy mental health services. It can buy you better food, which will biochemically make you happier because you're not eating McDonald's and sugar all day. You're eating like organic vegetables and meats. That would actually biologically make you happier and make you feel better too. So money can buy you a nicer house. Like I have a family that's very large. If I had a 1-bedroom house, this would be a really sucky situation. And so if I bought a bigger house, that would naturally make me happier because, the family wouldn't be all on top of each other or whatever. Fortunately, I don't live in a 1-bedroom house, but it's just, think about the implications of what you're saying when you say that money doesn't buy happiness. And it's like, well, but it buys a lot of things that contribute to happiness. So why wouldn't you have an obligation to pursue money in an ethical, moral way and to pursue more of it so that you could give you and your family more happiness? The reason why is because you find out when you start pursuing money that it's extremely hard when you're just pursuing money. It gets exponentially, geometrically easier when you realize the formula for money that I just gave you, which is going to be a future podcast that I'm shooting. Why wouldn't you? And it's because you tried to pursue money in a way you thought there were secrets. You bought somebody's course on the 7 secrets I used to make $1 million, and there's no secret. It's the dude. Someone either gave him $1 million or he worked his butt off doing a lot of good for people. And that's the thing. It's not just working your butt off, guys. Janitors work their butts off. They work hard. But I don't know any janitors, at least not that are still janitors, because people like Tony Robbins was a janitor once. I don't know any janitors making $1 million in their lifetime, let alone in a year. Right? And I can tell you, as a person who has made over $1 million in my lifetime, I don't know that I've ever worked as hard as a janitor. Right? So it's not just, I've never worked as hard, probably. Well, that's not true. Some of the work I did as a soldier probably was pretty labor intensive physically. But the point is, it's not just this, people buy into this internet motivation BS. It's all about grind and grit and hard work. Yes, all those things are true. But what hard work? Because you could work really hard as a landscaper and not make close to the money you want to make. And I'm not criticizing anybody that has those jobs. Dude, I talked about crappy jobs on my podcast. I used to work at Burlington Coat Factory, and I had a manager that did a bunch of things that he would have been released if we would have had a safety check. They would have fired him because he had me up on ladders replacing light fixtures. I didn't pass the safety test you have to go through to do. Had us jumping in dumpsters because the recycling compactor broke, so we were jumping on boxes inside the dumpsters, like. And I'm not talking about a dumpster like out in a parking lot. I'm talking about the one that is controlled by like a generator and a machine that crushes it. So I get it. I'm not crapping on anybody's job. But it's not just about working hard. It's about, are you working hard in the right way that is adding so much value to another person that they're willing to pay you for it? Right? That's why doctors typically, at least I think they always do, make more money than janitors, because the value of you cleaning my house is way less than you saving my life. Sorry, it's just the way it is, right? So when you get into realizing how hard it is to make money, and let me be clear, it's hard to make money the way you were trying to do it. It gets, like I said, exponentially easier when you apply the formula that I'm talking about here tonight. Then you start coming up with cute little phrases that make you feel better about your quote unquote failure, which is, well, I don't chase money because it doesn't buy happiness. Buys private schools for your kids, better food, which does make you physically feel better. Buys a nicer house, nicer cars. It buys mental health. It buys vacations and trips to spas, all things that are known to make people happier. Right? So that's where I take umbrage with people who say things like that. Like, if you're just saying, like, usually if I hear a wealthy person say it, I'm inclined to agree with them because, yes, you're correct. Your money is only, having the money is only going to make you so happy. It's what you do with the money that makes you happy, and understanding that money is just a tool. And by the way, it's not a tool of the devil. All you people that bought into that BS, that what the Bible says, that money is the root of all evil. It actually does not say that. You know, when someone quotes something to you, actually go look it up. Even if I quote something to you, go look it up. I make mistakes all the time. But there are people who are either ignorantly saying that wrong or they're saying it wrong on purpose. So, well, the Bible says money is the root of all evil. It absolutely does not say that. I'm not even going to tell you what it really says because I want you to go look up what it really says. So you can be like, oh, well, who are these stupid people that keep quoting? Maybe they're not stupid. Maybe they just don't know any better because they didn't read it for themselves. And I always tell people, if you're going to base your life on a book, you might want to crack it open once or twice before you start arguing with people about what's in it. Imagine that, right? So we got to get it out of our head that money's evil and I'm not going to pursue it because it corrupts you. Give me a break. Really? If I handed you $1 million a day, you'd become like a serial killer running the streets? Come on. You know better than that. So, the point here, friends, is we've got to squash these losing mentalities, these bedtime stories we tell ourselves so that we're not afraid of the boogeyman, and the boogeyman of hard, eye-bleeding work. And the boogeyman of you tried something and got punched in the face and realized, oh, this is really hard, so now I need to make an excuse for why I'm not trying anymore. Right? That's what I'm talking about. We have to kill it. And so we've got to kill money is the root of all evil. It absolutely is not. Money is just a tool. It's all it is. It is a means of exchange. Period. Right? And if it was so evil, why is it always devaluing? Why is the longer you keep money in your pocket, why does it get less valuable? Right? If it was evil, wouldn't it want to go up and give you more power to do evil? All right, Third Maze says, you will get all you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. Zig Ziglar. Yeah, no doubt. That's the formula, friends. So, Aquasagua says, besides, when one thinks about it, it's odd that people would consider pieces of paper and metal as objects responsible for evil. Absolutely. Whew. You know, absolutely. Just means of exchange. That's all it is. And paper money is not even money. It's just a thing that says you have money. My iPhone card charger here. I don't know why I'm holding that. But we got to get that idea out of our head. And the thing I'll shut up with, and then I'll let you guys start asking some questions. And then we'll talk about how I can serve you with some quality. I want to actually have a conversation with you all about how I can help you specifically. Last thing I'll leave you with is, if you truly believe that money can't buy you happiness, then tell me, what is poverty buying you? Like, if money can't buy you happiness, is poverty buying you happiness? You know, or like especially spiritual Bible people would be like, well, Jesus, and don't start with the Jesus was poor. No poor people have a traveling ministry with an accountant working for them. It does not exist. I can tell you right now, I do not have an accountant because I have no money. It's ridiculous, right? So stop making excuses for why you don't have what you want and actually become willing to put in the work to go get what you want. Because I believe you are more capable than you realize. That's the positive side of this. Right? I believe you're way more capable than you could ever imagine. You just haven't either tried enough or been willing and humble enough to ask somebody to help you fill in the blanks where you don't have knowledge. Or you keep coming to just YouTube videos, hoping that all of us are just going to bestow upon you all the everything we know. Well, a lot of times what you need to know needs to be tailored specifically to you. And if you think you're going to get that in a 10-minute YouTube video, you're not. I mean, why do you think my YouTube videos are usually 2 hours long? It's because I got to answer legit questions to help you get to where you're trying to go that you're not going to get in the 7 steps to how I made $1 million. That's why I've never made that video. Not because I haven't made $1 million, because it's not going to actually help you. I know exactly 0 people who've looked at a 7-step video and been like, that's exactly how I made my million. Right there, just this 7-step video that was 4 minutes long. As if I could sum up in 4 minutes what helped me make all that money. I mean, I can sum it up in 10 seconds. Quality of service and product plus quantity that you give people plus attitude and willingness to serve over time. Got to divide it by time. That's the part that kills people. All right, so Adnan says you might have missed my previous comments. I saw that you commented. I didn't read it. Something about your internet plan was sucking. Cool. See, Ann says, I heard money is energy or energy equals energy in motion. Money is energy. I'm trying to think, how would I make a connection between money and energy? I mean, you could say money is your ability to provide output, and output requires energy. So you could say it that way, kind of. But it can't just be energy because go back to my doctor versus the janitor scenario. The janitor is exerting way more energy in the work he's actually doing, probably at least physical energy, than the doctor is. So if it were just, it needs to be energy focused on a specific thing, I think, before we can really parse that out. Raz says, I had someone ask me what charities I do or would give to. I don't give to any, and I probably won't, and instead start my own when I have the funds. Many only enable the poor-minded mentalities rather than encouraging them to grow to actually get out of poverty. It's true about a lot of things, not true about all. I actually am partnered with a number of either nonprofits or charities who are out there really like, I'm working with this homelessness charity nonprofit where, I mean, some of the stuff they're doing is rivaling what you can buy in terms of mental health on the market. Right? So yeah, guys, if you think money's the root of all evil, you think money won't buy happiness, I want you to tell me what poverty ever bought you. I'd love to hear it. If poverty bought you something good, let me know. Let me know. Other than that, let's get to your questions. What would you guys like to talk about tonight? What would you all like to talk about tonight? So Adnan had a series of comments here that are more spiritual in nature when it comes to happiness. Cool. Good stuff, man. He says you need to follow the path that God has set for you. Worship Him. Treat others in the same way you love to be treated. There are other few things. Let's see. Oh yeah, you didn't have to repost them. I saw them. But I think about, the only thing I change about your comment is don't treat people the way you would love to be treated. Treat them the way they would love to be treated. That's another thing that people suck at when it comes to sales. It's like the golden rule. I'm gonna treat you the way I want to be treated. Don't do that because you might want to be treated differently than me. You know what I mean? Like treat people the way they want to be treated is what I would about the one of the tweaks I would say to what you're talking about there. Let's see. Let's get some new music up and running here. Bandcamp is so weird. I don't know why it does that. YouTube's quiet tonight. You guys are usually real chatty. What's going on, YouTube? Why are we so quiet? Actually, let's switch here. Let's go here and here. Let's see. Third Maze says, happiness is good. Joy is priceless. And joy will help you succeed in your chosen endeavor. Let's see. Raz says, I had someone ask. Oh, no, that's the charities comment. Third May says, how do you define the difference between joy and happiness? I don't know that I do. I think a long time ago I used to do what the church does, where it's happiness is circumstantial and joy is eternal and joy comes from the Lord. Honestly, I don't know that I don't really separate the two anymore. I just think, they're very esoteric ideas. I mean, we could argue that happiness is when dopamine is flooded into the brain. What we call happiness is a biochemical response in our bodies. But I don't know. I'm actually looking up the definition of both right now. So joy is the feeling of great pleasure and happiness, right? According to the dictionary. And then happiness is just a state of being happy. So, I mean, the dictionary tends to believe that they're kind of the same thing. And I think they are too. I think when the church made that distinction, and I don't know if they were the originators, it's the first place I heard it. I think what they were trying to help people establish was not everything that happens in life is something to be happy about. But if you have faith in God and you can understand that, like the scripture says, all things work together for the good of those that love God, it can very much, you can take joy in knowing that this hardship that you might be going through is going to have a positive outcome. But honestly, I believe you could generate what we call happiness based on that too. Like when I'm in the gym and I am suffering, or like my hill sprint workout, what was that, yesterday, was murder. Just, I did a 2 mile, I did a 30-minute body weight push-up workout. Then I did a 2 mile walk. And then I did a hill sprint workout that was just, and I did that fasted. I had nothing to eat for, I fasted, I think, for about 20 hours yesterday. It was brutal. And I was so just, yes, I love this. I love this, just the struggle, right? Because I've trained my body to react that way, right? Train my mind to, when body feels pain, mind associates that with, oh, he's getting stronger, he's getting in better shape, he's going to live longer, and so I get happy, right? In the moment, you'd feel a ton of suffering because it hurts, but I've trained myself to love it. Yeah. Right, so I don't know that I really separate the two, and I don't know that I could properly give you a definition of the two of them. I think that's something, at least in my experience, that was born out of the church trying to explain how people actually get through suffering. So they separated out. Well, obviously, you're not going to be. I'm not happy that my father died, but I can take joy in the fact that he's, whatever you believe in, like he's gone to live eternally, in the presence of God. That one day I'll see him again, that now he's not suffering anymore. So I can take joy in those things. But those things also make me happy to think about, right? So I don't know that I'd separate the two. I like to keep things in life as simple as I can without oversimplifying. And that's a distinction where I think we're just kind of splitting semantic hairs. But I don't know, maybe I'll change my mind. Someone will say it in a different way that'll educate me and I'll think differently. Raz says, I would rather give rather help give grants to entrepreneurs or open a sliding scale mental health and functional. Yeah, yeah. The sliding scale thing is really cool. The doctor that I see has that. Raz says, treat others like they are human and have value, and you will never have a problem getting along with someone. Unfortunately, that does not always work the other way around. Aquasagra says, that is a good way of saying it. I know I came across a website that mentions the fault of the golden rule is that it tells you to treat others like you would want to be treated. But the problem is one's needs might be different from how others like to be treated. So, where the golden rule comes from, at least I believe, I don't know if there was another book that was written before, but it comes from the Bible. It's an ancient scripture that says, love thy neighbor as thyself. Right? So that got extrapolated into treat others the way you would want to be treated, but those aren't the same thing. Love is a very definable thing, at least the action of love, treating people with respect and dignity and honor. Um, so if I honor and respect myself, the way I might show myself honor and respect, the scripture isn't saying go do it to him exactly the way you do it to you. It's like, no, show that person the same love you show yourself. So if loving myself is this, but I know that person doesn't like that, then I'm going to talk to them the way that they like. So I think it's just a mis evaluation of an ancient idea, right? Which isn't bad. Even if you're treating people the way you'd like to be treated, at least you're trying, right? At least you're giving it a shot. Heffelfinger says, hey, Brian, how's it going? Man, it's going amazing. Ann says, money equals energy in motion. Possibly. But again, it goes back to the motion of the janitor. Like the motion of janitor compared to motion of doctor does not equal the same amount of money. So I think, like, if you're trying to boil money down into a formula, that formula doesn't really work that well. Unless the belief is the energy that the doctor is exerting. We're not measuring amount, we're measuring the value of the energy, and then that just gets weird. So I don't know. Maybe it's quite possible that you know more about that than me, and there's other people out there that are smarter that could break that down in a way that I can't. Third May says, love others as yourself, not instead. Yes, indeed. 100%. Because you can't properly love others if you don't love yourself. I had a mentor have to drill that into my head. He's like, if you're not taking care of you, bro, you're not actually helping other people. Not to the degree that you could be. You're not reaching your full potential to help people if you're not taking care. It took him years to get that baked into my skull. Cool. What are your questions, friends? What can I do for you tonight? How can I make your business, your freelance career better? I will stand by for questions and just listen to the beautiful sounds of City Girls music. How many of you guys are listening to my new... I'll ask you guys some questions if you don't have questions. How many of you guys are listening to the new podcast episodes? Are you digging them? Let's see. Adnan says, desire always has a ceiling, a limit that whenever you reach it, you'll stop finding excitement from things you used to love, like sex, music, owning property, etc., forcing you to find new ways to find excitement. For example, you start watching porn. You keep doing it. It excites you. Afterwards, you feel the need to commit adultery. Then you do it with other women. You don't feel the same excitement you used to feel. Next level and next till nothing satisfies you. Well, a lot of what you're talking about doesn't really have to do just with desire. It has to do with expectation, right? So the person you're describing has very unrealistic expectations, right? And the chemical and I may oversimplify this, get a real biologist to kind of, or neuroscientist to square me away if I say something wrong, but the gist is all the things you just listed release dopamine into the brain. And let's say You know, you're only going to get so much dopamine. You only have so your brain only has so much ability to absorb it and provide you with what's, you know, what we call happiness, right? So yes, doing the act in an obsessive way, not only is it not going to fulfill you, but eventually you're going to flood the brain with dopamine, especially in the porn example. You're going to flood the brain with so much dopamine that eventually you could become addicted to that behavior. And now it takes twice as much just to get the same dopamine rush because you're burning out the receptors, right? And you're burning out the receptors not just because of desire, but because you were expecting that your behavior is going to fulfill something, right? And there is no ceiling. There's no way to quench the desire. There's only you setting better expectations for your pleasure, right? Because pleasure is really what you're talking about, I think, more than desire. It's pleasure has limits. I tell people all the time, nothing that you're imagining in your life, none of your dreams, none of your nightmares, no good or bad thing in your life ever feels as good or as bad as you think it's going to feel in your mind. It just doesn't, right? So if your expectation from sex is that it's going to create this unbelievable euphoria that's just unimaginable for the rest of your life, like it's just not realistic. Certainly you can have times, and I think intimacy needs to be in the equation if you're going to have those type, but not every time you lay down with somebody it's not going to be like, man, my whole life just changed, unless you start to rewire your brain to learn to appreciate what you're experiencing. Because what you're talking about sounds more like the mind of someone who has like obsessive tendencies, which I have been diagnosed with, or someone that has like addictive personality, meaning that they're trying to quench, and really what they're trying to do is not so much get to pleasure, they're actually running away from pain in a lot of cases, right? And that's just, it's never healthy to run away from the pain, because after you stop feeling the dopamine rush, the pain comes rushing back in, and then you got to go do it again, right? So you're more describing the cycle of an addict, or so, at the very least, someone who's just very obsessed with something that they can't obtain. Because until they change their mind, like there was an old Tony Robbins said that in a talk where he was saying how the, you know, Neil Armstrong and the guys that went to the moon, when they came home, they developed addictions like alcohol and stuff like that. And you know, the way Tony describes it, I think, from talking to them, was these guys went from walking on the moon to coming back home to a regular life. You don't come back home to a regular life after you've, or even guys that fight wars. And it's this dude had the joy of being the guy that walked on the moon. How does he now come home and get that same joy from the smile of his child? And I went through that. You have to retrain the mind to be able to get, like, when my son comes in here and smiles at me, dude, that's my whole world. Just there is no dopamine rush like that. But I had to retrain my mind to get out of depression so that I could feel it. You know, and I'm still working on that. Third May says, what gets you through these slow times? What do you mean by slow times? Oh, okay. You guys are raising your hand to say yes to the podcast question. Cool. Aquasakura says, I see. That explains the misconception of the golden rule. Thanks for explaining that. Also, the golden rule, from what I have learned, has been around longer. Yeah, I assumed it had, before the Bible came about. I know that rule was also mentioned, and I believe you. I totally believe that the Bible was probably not the first people to have that idea. I just think that's the one that I can most commonly point to, that everyone's kind of familiar with. See, Adnan says, I think depression comes from neglecting to quench your soul. I would encourage everybody to look up depression, because I think in a lot of cases it's not what you think. Right? I had depression for years and didn't know it. And you look at me on camera, you saw he looks like he's got together. He's happy. It was dying on the inside. You know, and it was part of it that part of my soul felt dead, sure. But there were a lot of other factors that were causing it. not just some esoteric, oh, I didn't, pay attention to my soul. Oh, okay. Third May says, what gets you through the slow times in business? I don't know that I ever really pay that much attention to it. Like, I just understand how business and the freelance world works. And there are times, especially like if you're just getting started, where it's feast or famine. And then that becomes, yeah, I'm back on YouTube. It didn't actually kill the stream. Nice. I thought it would. Anne says, so I answered the questions you asked me earlier. I got some answers like babysitting, helping with kids, house chores, tech help, and YouTube help. And okay, so these are things that you're good at. So you're talking about you're good at babysitting, helping kids, house chores, tech help, and YouTube help, and dog walking. Okay, so yeah, there's quite a few different skills here that would be very valuable. So like, for example, you could help people who have like if there's people that live, say, in a neighborhood where a lot of them either are single or both spouses work, but they have a dog, they would absolutely need someone to come and walk their dogs. And you could probably make a decent amount of money if you had enough appointments for dog walking, right? And then eventually you could save up some money, even start a business where you hired other people to go do the dog walking, and then you just manage you manage people booking appointments with you online. It would be really easy to set up a website or something that does that. You can make a nice chunk of money doing that. You probably won't become a billionaire walking people's dogs, but you can make enough money to, enjoy your life. It looks like you got tech help. So it looks like you have skills in a bunch of different areas. And then you went on to say, except for babysitting, the others are hard for me because you have rebel tendencies and only do those things out of love. So I'm guessing if you're talking about rebel tendencies, you're talking about, I can't remember her name. She was on Tony Robbins' podcast a couple months ago, the lady that came up with the test for the Four Tendencies. So you're either a rebel, an upholder, a questioner, or I forgot what the one that is the doormat for people. It's upholder, questioner, rebel, and I can't remember the fourth one. So I'm guessing you are the rebel who doesn't like to be told what to do. Could be a good entrepreneur. But I will say it's very hard to lead if you can't follow. So that's something you might want to add to your skill jar, is being able to take direction from someone who's in authority or from someone who's a mentor. But if, like I said, if you're a rebel, then you're going to have a mentor that you trust a whole lot and have a lot of respect for their ability to help you. Let's see. Aqua Sakura. Oh, nope. I'm skipping stuff. Yeah, so back to Jim's comment. How do I deal with slow times? I don't know that I really think about it that much, to be honest with you. I don't. I guess it's hard for me to answer the question because there's so many ways I could take what you mean by slow times. There's so many different facets that could contribute to a quote unquote slow time. Like, for example, I'm in, I guess, what you would consider a slow time now because I've pulled myself out of the equation. Like, I've got my editors and stuff running my social media. And I do these calls because it's healthy for me to have these interactions with people. It's part of my recovery and, just getting healthy. But I don't know that I really pay that much attention to it. I just keep working because I know, like, I learned that as a bodybuilder and a fitness guy, right? It's the work you're doing right now today is for 2 months from now. It's not for today. The work you're doing right now today is for 2 months from now. Right? So that's the thing you got to think about. Is the work you're doing now is not for today. So when I think about, I guess, slow time, like say I'm slowly, like I had weigh-in today for, I'm cutting body fat percentage, getting a little bit more lean. I don't want to get smaller. I worked really hard to be this big, but I want to be leaner, right? I'd love to get down to about 7-8% body fat. And that takes a lot of hard effort. But there's weeks where you're grinding it out and you're not making any visible progress. But what I tell myself, I guess this is how I get through it, is I'm always putting money in the bank. You know, if I put out a YouTube video that doesn't catch on right away, that's cool. It's money in the bank. It's money in the bank. At some point, I'm telling you, mark my words, history is going to be on my side. Eventually, people are eventually going to get where I'm at with what I'm doing. And I know this because I've experienced it all the way. I can trace it all the way back to middle school. All the things that I'm into are always 10 years ahead of where they are. Like right now, everyone is full on. I want more Game of Thrones. I want more sketch comedy and vloggers that entertain me, and I want more women with ass implants and yoga pants doing squats on Instagram, right? And there's going to get to a point of overconsumption where people are eventually going to get tired of that, and it's like, oh dude, I need to feed my brain and my soul. I've vegged out on all this entertainment. I need something else. Then that's when they'll come to me, right? The internet is eventually going to burn people out on all this repetitive entertaining. Like, entertainment has never been created at scale the way it is now, right? So people are going to burn out on it way faster than they ever have in human history. So I just keep putting out these 2-hour little seminars. By the way, I would charge people for like these 2-hour seminars. Like, if I do it for free, people pay hundreds if not thousands of dollars to come to these types of talks, right? Like, if I was giving this talk like in a business setting, like if I had an Eventbrite event set up, it would cost you guys $100 to come listen to me talk, right? If I was doing something like that. So it's, or more, depending on how long the seminar is, right? And I say that to say the value that I'm putting out here over time, people are going to catch on. It's just going to take a minute. It's just going to take a minute. Like all those kids that were telling me, I can't watch you for 2 hours, when it's because you're not hungry. You can't sit still for 2 hours. Like I fell asleep to a Grant Cardone sales training video. I couldn't even, like, I was falling asleep till he started talking, and then I was up like, oh, I'm learning, yo. I was rewinding, like, say that again, Grant. Like, I'm at a different place. Like, I got burnt out on entertainment back in my college days. Like, enough, dude. And I learned. Smart people started teaching me, hey man, it's great that you're into all this entertainment. Listen, successful people, and I know that's what you want to be, because you, like, even my doctor, when I did my psych eval for military disability, was like, you're so ambitious. I was like, I know, there's people dying, I got to do something about it, and I mean physically and spiritually. And my motor just runs higher. And a wise person once taught me that all successful people value, and by successful I don't mean, I was on a yacht 2 years ago in San Diego, and the yacht driver was telling me about billionaires' kids. He's like, the billionaires are always awesome. He's like, a lot of their kids are douchebags, but the billionaires themselves are cool. And they would just get these giant yachts, have like a table full of cocaine and hookers on these boats. And, I was just thinking about, eventually you're going to get tired of that. Eventually you're going to want something of value. And my mentors always taught me, successful people always value education over entertainment. Always. Like, I've always felt, even as a younger dude, like, what we call fun it's overrated. I'm not saying it's unimportant. I watch fun stuff too. I watch stand-up comedy. I do consume some fun content. I watch Metal Jesus because he teaches me. I'm a collector. I want to learn, and that characters on his show are fun to watch. But I don't watch that for 8 hours a day. Like, I'll watch an episode before I go to bed. Except for a brief stint after my father passed away, I knew from all kinds of psychological study and being in therapy, like, I knew I needed to do more fun things just to deal with the pain. So I think I watched all of, like, Angry Video Game Nerd's videos and his movie, because it just helped me be nostalgic and reminisce about happier times. But once I started to come out of that part of depression, it was like, okay, now back to the grind. So what I know is I don't worry about the slow times. Like, YouTube right now looks mad slow for me, because he's getting 300, 400. Sometimes he'll get 1,000 views if he puts INFP in the title, because YouTube's algorithm is hilarious. It's like, but I don't think about that. I'm thinking about 10 years from now, when these videos are doing Joe Rogan numbers, because people got tired of watching the same BS over and over and over again, and they needed something to feed them. And one of you is going to be the one that tells your friend, and they're going to blow me off for now. But eventually, they're going to get hungry. That kid that's like, I can't watch a 2-hour video. Dude, you were 22 years old. You're not married, you don't have children, you don't run multiple businesses. Don't tell me you don't have time. I used to get livid if someone ever told me, and not with my content, but just, I don't have time to. What are you doing with your life? 22. Please help me. Like, are you literally in India every other day volunteering to help people? Give me a break. You make time for what you need. And what the person who says I don't have 2 hours is telling me is I'm not really that hungry. Like, I'm comfortable in my life. I'm kind of satisfied. And by the way, I said on Twitter earlier today, if you are satisfied with where your life is right now, just turn the video off. Don't even, for your sake, not for mine. If you are satisfied with where you are in life, you can never listen to another thing I say on the internet. Because all I'm going to do is get increasingly more annoying for you. Because you're content, not content, that's not the right word. You are satisfied. You are right where you want to be. All of my content is about helping people push through dissatisfaction while being content. Right? So I don't think about the slow. It's only slow until someone needs what I got. It's like the old saying, nobody likes the sheepdog, me. Like basically a lot of modern philosophers will break down humans into three categories: sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs, right? The sheep is most of the populations, 99% of the population. The other 1% are sheepdogs and wolves. Wolves are your psychopath murderers like ISIS and stuff like that, right? Sheepdogs are the soldiers that go to fight people like that. So you can understand that the sheepdog and the wolves have some things in common. They're both capable of killing, right? Sheep are not. All human souls, unless you're a psychopath, you have to be conditioned to kill. It doesn't come natural. If you're a psychopath, yeah, you can, right? But there's an old saying that, and I fall into the sheepdog category. There's an old saying that says sheep never like the sheepdog because he looks a lot like the wolf until the wolf shows up. And then everyone's like, hey, where's that sheepdog? Where's that guy? Where's that dude with the American flag all over his shirts? We need him. The wolf's at the door. We need someone to punch this wolf in the mouth. Like I got my first jujitsu training yesterday, real basic. I got taught how to do basically how to choke someone out until they pass out. One of my neighbors is used to be a renowned, martial arts trainer. And he's just like, let me show you, kid. Let me get in here and show you how to do it. And it was awesome. That's fine. They don't. So in the slow times, I'm just like, eventually these sheep are going to need the sheepdog. Eventually the wolf of poverty, or the wolf of you don't feel like your life's going anywhere, or the wolf of your business is stuck, you will call the sheepdog when you need him. So I don't think about the slow times. I just keep putting out a video every once in a while. Just here's a little something for the people who are hungry, who recognize that watching one more episode of whatever thing you watch on Netflix, which I'm sure is amazing, is not going to get you any closer to your dreams than you were yesterday. And so eventually you say, you know what, I'm going to muscle up. I'm going to go listen to something slightly more boring. I accept the fact that what I'm doing is not necessarily all that entertaining, but it is feeding the mind and the soul. Everybody needs that. Smart people realize they need it more than the entertainment. Right? But even the people who don't get it eventually get to a point where they're burnt out on entertainment. So I'll just keep putting them out, and eventually it'll catch on. Always does. All right, great question, by the way. Aqua Sakura says, okay, also, I never knew of people who could have such an amazing experience that nothing else can bring them to the same level of joy without having to retrain the mind. It makes me think about how much novelty is too much or something. Yeah, I mean, the only reason you love, like, think about because this is a really interesting concept that'll kind of melt your brain a little bit. I had my business partner and I had a podcast we shot together. And I think we were off mic when we were talking about it. I was like, here's something that'll make your brain melt. Yeah, it was off. We were done recording, but I was talking about, you watch atheists and Christians argue about who's right. And it's like, well, what both of you believe is absurd, right? Usually the atheists are more inclined to be like, yeah, true. Christians kind of, but the funny part is, what I'll always tell everybody, regardless of which side of that argument you're on, have you ever given thought to existence is absurd? Like, why is there not nothing? Why does anything exist? But you've tapped into another mind melter too, which is how much novelty is too much. Well, when you think about it, think of all the things in your life that you love dearly. Would those things be so exciting if you didn't have the pain to contrast it against? Right? Like if all you ate your whole life was chocolate cake, you wouldn't love chocolate cake. You love chocolate cake because parsnips exist. Kale makes you love chocolate cake. If the world was all chocolate cake, you wouldn't love it. You'd eat it, but you're like, oh God, chocolate cake again? Oh, like if you just, all you could ever eat was chocolate cake, but you're still healthy, had abs and six pack and all that. You're like, oh, I just wish I could get a gut. Right? Contrast. The human psyche needs contrast. Third May says, does positive action help in slow times? Of course, that's exactly what I'm talking about is, but again, I still don't see the slow times as slow times. I see everything as seed and harvest time, right? Does the farmer think that the apple tree he planted yesterday is the slow times? No, just keep planting trees. Because if he plants trees for 20 years, he's going to get to a point where there's no more slow time. It's seed and harvest time. It's in the times where nothing seems to be growing, plant more. Because when stuff does start to grow, you get more. Let's see. Anne says obliger was the other personality type. Thank you. Thank you. Anne's on both platforms. Look at her getting after it. That's cool. Third Maze is true. Many, despite their wealth, aren't always happy. 2 months from now makes sense. Raz says, I cut a lot of my entertainment. I canceled cable because I don't want to be distracted from getting shit done to make my dream 100%. I'd recommend it. Like the only reason we have cable in my house is because my wife's not a salesperson, and the salesperson talked her into, well, if you get like, no, tell them no. There's nothing coming on TV that we need to watch. Literally nothing. Like you don't get to talk to salespeople anymore. Like if the Mormons, Jehovah's Witness, or salespeople show up to the door, let me do it. As a matter of fact, I kept Mormons at my house for like 4 hours one time. Like they came to preach to me, but I just was like, I started preaching. Mormons never came to my house again after that. I think they had a picture of me like, don't ever go to this dude's house. He won't let you leave. And I don't have anything against the Mormons. We were just having a great conversation. It was hilarious, but they never came back. Like, let's get the next house. This guy is on something else. Raz said, my parents said the same thing about deciding on what I wanted to eat. If you can't decide, you're not hungry. 100%. Like if you're as hungry as you think you are, here, eat this parsnip. Oh no, you're not as hungry as you think you are. There was some weird, I heard through like third party, that there was a study that showed that what Americans especially feel as hunger is actually a desire for taste. Like we get dopamine from tasting things that we like. And so your body got smart and says, ooh, we want that dopamine rush again. Tell him he's hungry. Tell him to go eat that cookie, even though you're not really hungry. Third May says, keep planting trees. Adnan says, how do I tell people the truth or what I need them to do to fix a mistake they made without fearing to hurt them? Because I have a problem trying to say what needs to be said. Hey man, you okay? Are you still awake? Why? Do you need something? What do you need? You need a hug? Do you need a hug? No? Well, you need to go to bed. Go get in your bed. Okay, what can I do for you, man? Tell me, use your words and tell me what I can do for you. You don't have to sneak in here. Do you want to come in here? Well, come in. But you look really tired. You need to go to bed. It's almost 11 o'clock. Almost 10:30. What? Okay. Yeah, don't do that.
Okay.
That's not good. Because now you're going to touch people with a booger on your finger because you're picking your nose. Would you like to come sit down with me? Would you like to sit up here in the chair with me?
Yeah.
Come on. Come on, you can do this talk with me, and then we'll both go to bed. Come on. Come sit with me. You can greet these wonderful people, man, and they can see why I do this all the time. Okay, so who was next? So Adnan, I think if telling people the truth is, just do it with grace, but you have to be willing to risk potentially hurting their feelings. If it's worth, but you have to ask yourself, is what you're about to share really worth it? Like, is there going to be a benefit to them from what you're going to share? If there's no benefit to them, then it probably doesn't need to be said. Aqua Sakura says, yeah, it would be boring if we could only consume one thing. There's a reason why there are contrasts. In fact, with the topic of happiness, I think that is why we like joy in the first place, because why we have sadness to contrast it with. Yeah, Kyle Sully says, I started this month scheduling no entertainment before 8 p.m. on weekdays and no entertainment before 5 p.m. on weekends. Working out well so far. 3 books down and more gym. Still working on that. On what to fill my time with. God, I wish I had the problem of trying to fill time. That must be a nice problem to have. Did you poop? No? Okay. Just checking. All right. That's funny, Adnan. Let's go back to Anne says, taking note. Thank you. Austin says, in that case, this video is going to keep playing. Cynthia Lewis says, I'm an award-winning author. Yeah, I hate sales. Boo. My book was listed on Amazon for 25 million, or is that 25,000? Because you're using commas. 25, let's say, 1,799. One was selling one on eBay for $13.09. My list price is $24. I don't know how to move forward. Huh. Why was your book listed on Amazon for what looks like you tried to type $25,800,000 and one on eBay? Like, you listed the books for that much? Or you listed them for $25 and somehow eBay and Amazon got them up there for those ridiculous prices? Or maybe your book is really that amazing. I don't know. Do me a favor, see if you can you give me more context about the problem you're having, because I'm not sure what to advise you on there. What is the actual problem you're trying to solve specifically? Anna Chris says, TV is a waste of time, a propaganda machine. There's a lot of truth to that. Ann says, hi, little one. Ann says hi to you.
Darling.
Wave hi to Ann. Wave. Wave hi. They're talking to you. Wave. You gonna do it silly? You gonna look like the emperor of Egypt, good, Rome. Cool. What other questions do you guys have? And Cynthia, I'm not trying to ignore you. I'm just trying to get a better understanding for how I can specifically help you. Who else has a question about anything? Doesn't have to be related to money mentalities that are helping you lose. Could be about anything. If not, me and the little one are gonna go get a snack and then go to bed, right? Sorry, I told you that mommy was gonna be home soon. I didn't lie to you. It was true, but she changed her mind. She's going to see another movie because her and your grandmother are crazy. Can you live with that? Yeah, okay. Not like we have a choice. I just wanted to make sure you were gonna be cool about it. Good, okay. Thanks for the thumbs up. Austin says, what do you do to make every day feel satisfied? I feel like I'm missing a part of me. So I live to not be satisfied, right? I've always said if I ever get satisfied, that's when I need to leave Earth. I live content, but I live, my philosophy is be content but never satisfied. Because if you're never satisfied, you'll keep pushing forward, which ties into what Adnan is. Adnan is on, he's trying to drive home a point about, you've got to feed your soul, which I don't think anybody would disagree with. But in this particular case, what he's talking about specifically is actually an issue of the mind, where if someone gets to a goal, they're happy, but then they have to set bigger goals to continue to stay happy. But that's a mental thing. That's actually called the contrast bias. Like it goes back to the example, like if I handed you $1,000,000, you'd be happy for a month, and then you'd be like, what's next? You know? You know what I mean? So that's something to consider. So I think what Adnan is saying is true. It's just there's two very different things that he's trying to talk about. What he's talking about is specifically an issue of the mind, which is, believe it or not, it is a cognitive bias that we have to deal with called the contrast bias, which can work for and against you. The contrast bias is also why people love chocolate cake. Captain Cheese, what up, man? I hope I'm not late. You were way late, dude. We've been going for an hour and 20 minutes. It's awesome to see you with your kid. They said it's awesome to see you, buddy. Did you hear that?
How about at the pool?
Huh? I know you were at the pool. That was like hours ago, though. You had fun at the pool? Is that what you're trying to tell the audience?
How about
Yeah, you had fun. That's good. Fun is important. We just don't want to overrate it, right?
how about at the pool, Dad?
I don't like the pool. So, no, I didn't have fun at the pool. Dad's not much for swimming. I know how to swim because I had to learn it for survival, but I don't like it that much. Just Dill says, hello, what up, Just Dill? Austin Heffelfinger, let's see, I answered that question. Cynthia Lewis says, my book is made just for tykes like yours. Sweet. But I still don't know how to help you with the problem you're running into. What is it that you're trying to move forward, either from or to? Captain Cheese says, well, it's a good thing I can watch it complete afterwards. Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, my hand.
I see your hands. Okay, so you have 400 books and no money. But help me understand, you said your book was listed on Amazon for $25,000, $799, and one was selling on eBay for $1,300.
Oh.
So if your book was selling for $1,300, how do you not have any money? Or maybe I'm misunderstanding you. Is what you're saying is your book cost $25 and you sold enough of them to make $25,000 on Amazon and $1,300 on eBay, but now your sales have dried up and you're trying to figure out how to get more sales? You're trying to sell off the rest of your inventory of 400 books. Is that what you're saying? Because if that's what you're saying, then we can definitely help you. Just Dill says, have you ever read the book Radical Honesty? I have not. I've never even heard of that. I've actually never heard of that. You guys like my shirt too? I'm going to show, sit up. I'm going to show them my shirt. Or at least I'm going to show it to Twitch because you're in the way on YouTube. Like that. It's like the Purple Rain, but it's called Steel Rain, which is one of the jobs I used to do as a soldier.
My belly.
No, don't show people your belly, silly. All right, so we're waiting for, I think Cynthia's typing out the rest of her questions, so we'll give her time to do that. Anybody else got questions? If not, me and this little one are getting up out of here, but I want to give Cynthia enough time to finish her thought. And so we can help her make, we're going to help her make more book sales. Ann says, what's it like being a father of how many kids? I got lots of kids. How many kids do we have? Tonight I have 6 kids, but a couple of them aren't mine.
B.
B?
When?
The best way I can describe, like when Jim Gaffigan, I think, had his 5th kid, he said, What's it like having 5 kids? He said, picture you're drowning and then someone hands you a baby. It's pretty much what it's like.
How about that? Daddy?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. Did you ask Xavier to make you some? Go ask him to make you some. Because if you're still asking me for it, I know he didn't. Say, go, please make me some water. Okay?
You want
Yeah, yeah. No, don't you don't want that. Go ask him to make you some, and then you can come back, and then we'll hang out some more. And he, well, now I have. You want to know what it's like to have a bunch of kids? I now have baby pee all over my shorts because this kid's got a full diaper sitting on top of me. Adnan says, so what's your streaming schedule? In the future, once we actually set the schedule, it'll be Sundays at 6 p.m. will be my live podcast recording. I'll have one high quality podcast a week. The rest of them will be the stuff we do, like when I'm traveling out, walking around doing prayer walks with my wife. It'll be so every week it'll be 6 p.m. on Sundays and 9 p.m. on Thursdays. And then once a month, I'm going to do my Collector versus Wild show, probably ad hoc. And that one will probably be on like a Friday night because I do a lot of my collecting on Friday nights. Like after my kids get out of school, I'll take them to the retro video game shop. We'll pick up some stuff. So I'll probably do that show because I do want to document my video game collecting hobby. I think that's really cool. Like once I get to the house that we're going to eventually build, the one material possession I want to have is this kind of game room arcade theater in my house. Just, and it won't even really be terribly expensive. Just one thing I wanted to have as a reminder of what hard work gets you, but also just a reminder of the happiness I had in my childhood playing games. So let's get to, why is Adnan saying, is anybody here? Yeah, we're here. Cynthia says, or no, Ann says, nope, answered that one too. Cynthia says, my book is called The Egg Book. It is an Easter egg hunt book. Well, let me look it up. I got Amazon pulled up, or I did. Did I close Amazon? Yeah, it looks like I did. I was looking up another book earlier. Okay, I think I'm looking at the wrong one. Let me look at the title again. It is, okay, so there's a couple different egg books it looks like on Amazon. Let me see if I can find it. Probably need to spell it right first before I expect it to come up. The Good Egg, The Book of Eggs, The Golden Egg Book, Egg, The Egg, Egg, A Culinary Exploration, The Egg. I do not see that book. I see Peppa's Easter Egg Hunt, an Easter Egg Hunt for Jesus. That sounds awesome. Mr. Impossible and the Easter Egg Hunt. Unfortunately, I don't see your book. Maybe, am I looking for it the right way? Yeah, Cynthia, I don't see the book. Oh, so you're saying you sell books, but then people bought them and are reselling them? So you sold 3 on Amazon. Okay, so I'm still having trouble. Okay, walk me through step by step what's going on so I can give you the proper type. You said you're an award-winning author. I got that part. Your book was listed on Amazon for, you typed $25,799,900. Tell me what you listed it for. It looks like you sold 3, but you still have an inventory of 400. and then somebody bought it and now they're selling the book for $1,300 on eBay. And your list price, but now you're saying your list price was $24.95. What's up, Kira? So are you saying someone else listed your book for some crazy amount of money on Amazon, and then someone else listed it on eBay for a crazy amount of money, and now you only list the book for $24.95, and you're trying to figure out? So it sounds like to me that those two pieces of information are context that doesn't really have anything to do with your specific problem, which is struggling to market the actual book. And if your problem is struggling to market the book, well then, uh, I don't think we have enough time to get into it on this call. Like I would want, like if you were a client of mine, I'd want to sit down and understand everything about the book, who you're trying to sell it to specifically, not just like moms. Like who is the book specifically for? What have you done up to this point to try and market it? What sets your book apart? Like I need to know a lot more things than we're going to be able to figure out here on this stream. And I think I totally got fingerprints on the camera here, so I don't know if I can fix that. Cynthia says, I haven't had enough sales to maintain what a shell of a company I had moving. Is the book that great? It is great. Okay, great. But what sets it apart? So I just did an Amazon search for your book and it didn't come up, but there's 100 other at least books about eggs and Easter eggs. So did you give me the right name for it? Let me make sure I'm not neglecting Twitch too. Let's see. Captain Cheese says, I will take this opportunity to thank you again for sharing your 69 Pillars of Success, which is a coaching program for those of you that don't know, and for free. Everyone should go through them. I already see changes in my days. Oh, everybody will go through them. Believe that. Everybody will go through them. It's just going to take time, man. People got to get hungry enough. See, people, you guys got to understand something about sales, right? Somebody sees the 69 pillars because I didn't do a ton to like market it as the secret to all the millions of dollars. Like I didn't do bullshit marketing. I kept it real and gritty and all things you shouldn't do if you're trying to sell a lot of something. Oh, I mean, it was free, so I wasn't trying to sell it, but there will come a time where the YouTube audience will get hungry enough, and then those videos will be their go-to. Just got to give them time. Got to give everyone enough time to get over their porn binges and their Game of Thrones binge watching, and when they need something that's actually going to help them. And part of it too is a lot of people are just satisfied with their life. My content is not for people who are just kind of coasting through life. It's for people that are hungry as hell and want to win. I create content for soldiers, basically, people that know what it means to go through their own personal hell to accomplish something. Not everybody's cut out for that, and that's okay. That's not an insult. A lot of people are not cut out to be willing to go through that many hours of content to learn something. They would rather keep watching 10-minute videos that people put out every week about the 5 steps this person used to make $1 million, because that feels like progress. And that's cool. I respect those people. That's not who I make content for. So believe me, enough hungry people will figure it out. And not only that, my Musashi series is dope. My sales course is awesome. Even my paid course. A lot of people did take advantage of that. Did get in that. But I mean, it's not like you can find that on YouTube. But it's, tis what it is. Yeah, Cynthia, I'm still not understanding what you're trying to tell me. Oh, you said yes, so I assume all the questions I just asked, the answer is yes. Well, if the problem is selling your book, then you've got to understand who is your book specifically made for, specifically, right? And what sets your book apart? Why? Like here, I'll help you. Tell me right now tonight. I'm buying an egg book for my son. Why should I buy yours instead of the other 99 books I just saw in my Amazon feed? Yours didn't come up, by the way, which is another part of your challenge. How would you get me? What would you tell me about the book? Like, given you've only known me, obviously, for the time that we've been on these calls together. Um, the what's it called? You've only known me as long as we've been on these calls together. So, how would you tell me about the book in a way that would compel me to want to buy it from you instead of the other 100 egg books that I saw? What sets it apart? You know. So it says your book is out of print. Okay, so right off the bat, I can give you some general help here. I mean, if I was to really help you sell these, I would. There's a lot of other questions I'd have to ask you that would not work on a YouTube stream, and I typically charge companies a lot of money to help them do this. But I will give you some advice here for free. First and foremost, you said that your book is for children. I can tell you right now, I'm looking at the cover. No parent is going to see that book and think, like, the cover of your book, honestly, and I'm not saying this to be mean or like to make you feel bad. The cover of your book looks like books that were written like in the early 1900s, right? Before they had the kind of the. If you're selling to kids, it needs way more color. Um, the egg, just calling it the egg book doesn't tell me anything about what's on the inside. So it would need to have some type of subtitle. So one of the challenges you're going to have selling this book, even if I helped you market this, if I showed this book right now tonight, I could teach you using a Facebook ad how you could show this book to 1,000 moms who are in your target market. I think you would have a hard time selling it just because the book does not convey the value. Now, if I read the description, which says the egg book is an interactive Easter egg hunt book designed to appeal to a multi-generational audience. The intriguing prose has adult appeal and will enhance the learning of young readers. Okay, those are things that are all important to parents, but that value is not conveyed in the book cover that I'm looking at. Not to mention the book doesn't come up in Amazon search. Even by this, like when I search the egg book, other books that aren't even called the egg book are what comes up. And maybe that's because it's out of print and Amazon's not prioritizing. I don't know. But the point here is nothing about this book conveys the value in that description. And if I was taking you on as a client, the first thing I'd tell you immediately is to change the cover of this book. Before we talk about anything else, you're not going to get this book to go off the shelf the way that it is. Like just like when I, help people with their YouTube channel, it's why are people not watching my video? And then I look at the thumbnail and it's something ridiculous. Like, well, because the thumbnail doesn't tell me anything about what I'm about to experience, right? My videos are very guilty of that. But I'm also, the videos I'm creating right now are just really for my existing audience. I am not currently creating content that I expect people on YouTube to find and watch. I'm just making these live streams to help you guys out. Because eventually, like I've been telling guys for, about a month or two now, all my live streams are going to go to Twitch anyway, so I'm not worried about it. Um, so that's my very first impression, and I have a lot of books that are old, right? My very first impression looking at this book is that it was written sometime between 1890 and 1970, right? Maybe even 1960 based on the cover. Like the colors are very drab. They're dark colors. They're not colors, one, that would get a kid's attention or really anybody's attention if I put this book up against, every other egg book, for example. I believe it was green was the primary color they were using with yellow peppered in, right? You're selling something that's about food and nature, so they're using nature colors, right? So I think just changing the cover would cause your book to sell way more than it has at present. Let's see. Adnan's out of here. Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming out. Um, Mine has a dresser that the drawers open. Yeah. So what's inside the book may be amazing, Cynthia. But if you can't convey that by the outside of the book, and believe me, I wish the world was different. I create a ton of content where the cover of my content does not inspire anybody to watch it. But if they would just click on it, they would find out that I'm in here sharing life-changing information. But you got to get people's attention if you want them to watch stuff, right? You got to do it. I was getting, like, for example, on my Twitch streams when I was doing video games, I was getting people to watch my Horizon Zero Dawn videos over and over and over again. They were the top videos if you search for them. Well, it was because I used a very specific thumbnail that got attention immediately. Then once you get attention, then you have to keep the attention. But the book in and of itself, the biggest problem, like, if you were a client of mine, like you paid me to come out and consult you, or to get on, you paid me for an hour of my time to consult you over the phone, I would tell you, I cannot market this book. Because even though I could get thousands of people to become aware of this book for not a ton of money, none of them will buy it like that. All right, friends and family, people will buy the book because they trust you. But a customer who's never met you before, even though your description of the book actually is compelling, one look at that cover and I'm like, nah, dog, it doesn't do anything to compel me to want to buy it. So if I was your consultant, would tell you, first things first, change the cover. Make the cover explain to me why this book is so awesome. And if it's because it's an interactive Easter egg hunt where it's a pop-up and drawers come out of dressers, hell yeah. Show me that. Make me see that so I can visualize it without having to. Because you got to remember, you get somebody on Amazon, first of all, they're looking for what you're selling if they found you. And they picked you out of a crowd. You better have something on that page that gets that attention immediately. In fact, if you're going to sell on Amazon, you don't just need the cover of the book. You also need other pictures that people can cycle through. Like, I don't know if the book is illustrated. It sounds like it's a pop-up type book. But yeah, I would not, and this happened to me years ago. I had a game developer want me to help him promote his game on my YouTube channel. And I said, okay, I'm not opposed to that, but your game has to be dope. I'm not going to promote crap. One, because I don't want to sell my audience crap. Two, I don't want to promote something that hurts you. And he sent me the game, and it was a travesty. Now, I'm not saying your book is necessarily a travesty. Your book's probably awesome, but the cover is a travesty. I hope you don't mind me being honest with you about that. The game he sent me, it was just, I had to write him back like, dude, I can't promote this. I said, if I promote this because people are going to watch, I have a lot of people's attention in this space, this very kind of indie, eclectic, weird space. I get a lot of attention. I'm going to get about 1,000 people to watch this, and none of them are going to, like, 2 of them are going to download your game and then tell the rest of the world, like, ugh, I can't even, the game it didn't even work. And I felt bad to have to tell him, like, his product was not good, but it wasn't, and I was trying to help him, like, dude, if I promote this, it's actually going to hurt you. You're going to get a really bad reputation. Now, that part is not true of you. I don't think you'll have a bad reputation. What you're going to run into is just people not paying attention. They're going to see a brown and black book that, I have brown and black books, but I'm a book nerd who, again, values education over entertainment. So I see a book like that and I get curious, like, what mysteries are inside this book? But you're not selling that book to me. And there's, like, I'm one out of probably 1 million people. You'd have to go through another 1 million people to find someone who's weird like I am. So that's what I would think about first. Then I would think about I would actually think about going through my, the Facebook portion of my marketing course which is on my website, and that part's free. You don't have to pay for that. I would definitely recommend going through my paid course because you're going to watch videos that explain how to do a lot of these things that you're trying to do. But if you want to start with the free content, I would do that for sure. Wait, I think you're not seeing my cover. Okay, maybe not. All I'm seeing on Amazon based on what you gave me is a brown book that's out of print. And then green eggs and ham comes up. So yeah, my apologies. All I'm seeing is a brown and black book. Nothing else comes up in Amazon search. Captain G says, "Does this book cover advice apply for a music album cover?" Yeah, but in a different way. Um, the music album cover, well, no, the advice would be the same. The music album cover really needs to take into account who your listeners are, right? I'll give you a perfect example. I don't know if you guys, I'm not sure what your age bracket is, but you may remember the hip hop artist named Cameron. Now, when Cameron finally hit the scene, I don't remember how old I was. 'Cause I think Cameron's older than me, but I wasn't a child, right? Like I was old enough to buy my own music. And it's the picture of him in overalls with no shirt on and a sledgehammer, like working at a foundry where I got it honestly it looked like the cover of like a Playgirl magazine. And I'm like, who's buying it? Apparently lots of people are buying that album because it was very popular. But the album cover to me screamed that this dude is a Playgirl model. Like, and I don't want any part of that. Like, no. Absolutely not. Right? So it's like, come on, dog. So your album cover really, so you would not want to create something like that to sell it to men probably over 28, 29 years old. Right? Kids was like, because I remember I was criticizing it to one of his, there was someone in his crew that I was talking to. And he's like, oh man, don't hate on my boy. I was like, dude, I'm not hating on him at all. I'm just saying this album cover was clearly not made for adult men. Like it was made for women and potentially children, get dudes. Like no grown man's buying an album cover with this dude with no shirt on. Like no. No. And one of my other boys was like, yeah, I bet to like a 19-year-old that looks like some strong stuff, but I wouldn't buy that album. And it's just like you got to really consider your audience. Like usually like beautiful art on an album cover catches my eye. A lot of Japanese like hip hop artists really capture that sense of like nostalgia more than anything gets my attention on a music album. But you may not be selling to me. I have weird tastes in everything I do. Right. So just if you're gonna do an album cover, it really needs to take in consideration your really take into account your audience. But yes, the advice is the same. The album cover needs to immediately get the attention of your target audience. So Just Dill said search by author instead of title. Yeah, I did both. But is it the same when the album is online? Well, it depends on what you mean by online. If you're on Spotify, absolutely. 100%. If you're putting stuff on YouTube, yeah. The album cover is the album cover. I don't care where you're consuming it at. You're gonna want it to get. You're gonna want something in that imagery that gets the attention of a potential listener, especially for listeners that don't know you. Like when I started listening, I'm listening to City Girl. The reason why City Girl was recommended to me is because I listened to Chill Hop a lot. She's like Chill Hop, but her album stuck out to me because she captured this weird. I don't remember the style of art because I used to be an art nerd. Oh, not impressionistic art, but this weird kind of postmodern art style that she uses for her album covers, and it was very colorful and very Japanese, foreign looking, and so it was like, oh, that caught my attention, and so I listened to her, and then her music ended up being really awesome. I would say also as like a pro tip, also the um make the album cover in some way convey, like when I heard the music based on the album cover, it made sense. It was like, yeah, this is what I would expect an album like this to sound like. If you can match those two things up well, that's a good thing, right? Like my album cover back when I had an album was very much trying to convey that this guy is a nerd, right? But then when you got deeper into the content, you realized a lot of my songs were about depression and experiences of warfare, right? To this nerdy kind of vibe, right? Like the music video for my like the like the not the because the album title was not one of the song titles, but the song that was kind of the linchpin of the album. I used video from the new Tron movie, right? And for whatever reason, Sony did not claim that video. I totally ripped because this was before YouTube was like, don't do that, it's wrong. It was like I'm just using it to show it to people. I'm not selling anything, and YouTube didn't care. It was before Content ID, but I still think Content ID still has not flagged that content. Guess Sony didn't care that I used their, or Disney in this case. Disney didn't care that I used their movie. All right. All right, so I'm looking at Cynthia's video right now, the egg book. Let's turn on the volume. Yeah, so that is definitely not the book. That artwork is actually okay. Yeah, that is definitely not the book that's showing up on Amazon. I would say that the cover still needs to convey, like, nothing on the cover tells me that this is an interactive experience with my kids. I don't know if it's on the back of your book, but the cover, your, wow, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff in this book, but the title is kind of generic. Let me turn this music off so I can actually hear the commercial that you made. And then I'm out of here after this one, guys. I gotta go. Let's watch this video. You guys can actually hear me listening to the commercial too while I'm playing. See, that's a great line. Yes. Like, my daughter spent 3 hours playing with me because of this book. That's good. I would say, though, let me just skip around because I don't need to actually listen to everything right now. I need to see. Yeah, this is very, very interesting. And it's a great concept. Like, I've never seen a book like this before. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I've certainly not seen an interactive book. But let's go back to the book cover just for a second. It's very much, so it's called The Egg Book by C. I will not try to butcher your name. But nothing on the book on the front cover, which is what has to get my attention. Nothing about it tells me this is an interactive Easter egg experience to share with your kids. That, you know, like floor time is about to get awesome. You know, like explosions or whatever in a commercial. And I'm just being silly, but nothing about everything about your book cover just says it's the egg book. which I love the simplicity of it, but nothing on the cover conveys to me that I'm about to have an experience that I can't get in any other book in this category. And that's what you missed. Also, a lot of the colors that you used are very muted. You went very much, it seems like, with pastels or more earth tones versus what most kids books do is like your green looks a lot like army green instead of like the bright overly green like you'd see in a Japanese animated show where grass has never ever been this green before in history. But I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong, but it definitely, your book is a lot more muted than some of the more colorful, bright books out there that would immediately get people's attention. So that's what comes to mind first, is that part of what you're going to have a hard time. First of all, let's just address the elephant in the room, which is your book does not come up in Amazon search. And the one that does is a brown and black book that's out of print that looks like it was written in the 1800s. Right. So I would address just being able to find your book on Amazon is one of the first things you should address. And then, like simple things, like you need to take full advantage of tentpole events. Like this book should be selling off the shelves during Easter because you're on Facebook, and stay-at-home mom groups talking about your book, and it's Easter. So would you guys like to do this with your kids? Like, hey, I want to give away one of my books to you ladies or ladies here. I'd love to do that. Would anybody like a free copy of this interactive book? And you can share the video. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. Like, if you're not making any money on the book, there's a lot of things you can do that don't cost you money, like hiring a consultant like me. You're not at a place where you need to do that. But you could totally do a lot of these other, oh no, Twitch is gone. Sorry, Twitch. YouTube's still up. Which means I won't be able to see anybody's comments, but I'm going to get out of here anyway. So hopefully, Cynthia, that at least gets you started. I wish you nothing but the best as you're trying to get out there and get after it. I don't know that you can change the book cover this late in the game because you got 400 copies on your hands. You have physical inventory, which makes it kind of tough. I would just say, really, hone in on who your target market is, so that you can get the book in front of those people and hopefully promote it a little bit better. But I do believe right now today, Facebook is your friend. You need to start making friends with other moms who are looking for books for their kids. And that's pretty much where I would get started. And I'd figure out how to fix the fact that book is not coming up in any Amazon searches, if indeed you have it listed on Amazon. All right, so hopefully it's helpful to you. I love you guys all dearly. I hope your night is amazing. Have a great, hopefully, start to your week. I'm out. Remember that we are stronger than I, and